up ahead. Affirmative 612.
This week on the Wealthy Pilots podcast, Scott, let's talk about key planning numbers for 2026, right? So it's upon us. The year is winding down, and we're going to have all sorts of decisions and things to do in the new calendar year. So might as well have a chat about some of these things and how the numbers are changing. What's going on, my friend?
Not much, man. Busy time of year. It's, good to be getting in front of this stuff and, kind of hit it hard here, take a little pause for the holidays, and then come back and start getting after it. So a lot of good information to start digesting through here. So
yes, I mean there's minor changes like they do every year, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about what those are going to be going into 2026. I guess let's start. I'll throw a graphic up here. We'll talk about some IRA contribution limits to kick things off. So what's the breakdown? What's the shakedown?
So I think ultimately, if we look at the IRA Roth IRA side. First off, a lot of the guys will say, hey, I make too much money to contribute to an IRA or a Roth.
Sure.
True, but there are ways to work around that. And so if you want to learn about that, hit us up. But I mean, this backdoor Roth thing is a very common strategy that we should be deploying for most guys that are eligible for it. So
it's always so funny. We've said it a million times on here. It sounds nefarious, the backdoor Roth, but it's totally like above board. Yeah. So.
Well, it's because the thief comes in the back door. I don't know why they call it that, but
I know, but it's an absolutely legal strategy, so no worries there.
100%. So, But yeah, ultimately, you're looking at like $7,500 a year now instead of $7,000. The catch-up contribution went up a whopping $100. So, if you're over 50, you can now put $8,600 a year into that strategy
for traditional and Roth IRAs, right? Yeah,
correct. The 401k dollar amount went up to $72,000, so that's a good one. Went up a couple thousand. I would have liked to see that go up a little bit more, but it did not. And that's the limit from all sources. Okay. From the airline, from the employer, from the employee, from profit sharing, all sources. Once it hits that 72 number, you've maxed out your 401k, unless you are a 50 or older pilot. And then you have the catch-up contribution, and then you have like the super catch-up contribution in there as well. The other thing to think about too is really like looking at tax brackets. So like the 32% tax bracket now starts at like $400,000 of income. And so, I mean, with most of our guys being right around that number, that $500,000 mark and above, you're looking at a marginal tax rate getting into the 35% bracket for most of our folks. So, there still is a definite lean towards, taking advantage of these tax deferred accounts just with the higher incomes and being in those mid to upper 30 tax brackets. We kind of look at that on an individual basis, Mark, where we will have a discussion with some people, and some guys will say like, hey, I know the math for this year says I should put it all in tax deferred, meaning the company contributions and my contributions. But some of the guys will put their contributions in the Roth. And it's, again, it's a way that you can get, now for 2026, $24,500 into that Roth tax-free bucket. And if you guys can throw that graphic up here, that'd be great. That Roth tax-free bucket is many times zero for these guys when they show up in retirement. I mean, $4 to $5 million 401ks we see, coming in at 65 years old very regularly. 2 to 3 as well. But I mean, man, $2 to $5 million all in one tax deferred bucket. Mm-hmm. And year over year, it was probably like, man, this is good that I'm reducing my taxable income this year. But then when they show up in retirement, it's like, man, I wish I had some Roth money. And they're not as concerned with what some of the money they paid in taxes earlier. They're more concerned about, this is really going to impact everything I do in retirement. And so I know we talked about this a little bit last time too, but to me, if you look at getting money over into Roth, again, even if you're doing the backdoor Roth strategy, you could put $7,500 in it starting next year. If you're doing it through the 401k, however, you can put up to $24,500 in there. I mean, that's, 3.5 years of doing the backdoor Roth in that 1 year. And so, yes, it's going to increase your taxable income by probably $35,000 to get that 24,500 over in there. It's a great way that if you can afford to pay the taxes on it right now,
that's a key piece. Yep.
That's a key piece. If you can afford to pay the taxes on it, you're able to really grow that Roth bucket very quickly. Now, one kicker to this is most of the airlines, the airline contribution has to go into the pre-tax bucket. Okay. I did recently just see that Southwest rolled out this year. I'll be curious to see if some of the other airlines start to shift that the employer contributions can now be directed to Roth. And so if
Correct.
they wanted to, they could be putting all 72,000, and this is at least for those guys. But if your airline follows suit with that, or it's been updated and we just haven't seen it yet, the Secure 2.0 Act kind of put some contingencies in there for 401k administrators around, lifting some of these restrictions on people so they can build more Roth money. It also put a little mandate out there that the catch-up contributions should be going into the Roth. And so that's something else that you got to be cognizant of and making sure that you're doing correctly. If you don't care and you just want to save taxes now and you'll deal with it later, it might not be as big a priority for you, obviously. But again, I just lean on the anecdotal evidence of I've never had one person after, 10 years of working the retirement planning space, never had one person say, I wish I would have deferred more taxes. Never had one. And I think, taking a step back to think of your retired self for just a couple minutes can allow some enlightenment to say, hey, how do we look at these different contribution limits, look at these different contribution strategies, and make sure that we're doing a good job and taking advantage of everything that's at our fingertips. And it's typically a couple clicks of a button in terms of what we need to do in Schwab or what we need to do in Fidelity. And again, most guys year to year, if they're maxing their Roth, I've never had one guy, a younger guy, come to me and say, hey man, this is really putting a burden on the house. But when you start to look at, you let it run for a few years, you're like, man, I got a lot of money over in that Roth that I wouldn't have if I didn't have just clicked that one button in my 401k plan. It makes a big difference.
And while our tax rates are what they are for at least, 3.5 more years, you'll be maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now, you might be quite happy if you've got more, money in those Roth accounts because, taxes are probably still going to go up.
We're going to eclipse, probably close to it by the end of the year, right around 40 trillion in debt.
Yeah. Unreal. Yeah.
And, here in 2025, if I'm 45 years old, 20 years to work, 20 years from now at this debt
what's the tax rate? Yeah.
I have no clue what tax rates are going to be to help cover that. And so to me, a lot of this still comes back to mitigating risk. So tax rate risk is a real thing, right? If I'm retired and I have all my money in one basket, all my retirement eggs in one tax basket, and it's all pre-tax and tax rates go up, a couple of times later in my career, it is going to be punishing significantly to that retired person who is not diversified.
That could be a key word, punishing. Not,
it can be absolutely punishing. And so, do I see them, not to get too much in the rabbit hole here, but do I see them raking people through their coals on Social Security benefits? Probably not. They don't want to touch Social Security a lot. It's a very unpopular opinion politically.
To your point, we got a $40 trillion or closing in on a $40 trillion debt and $40 to $45 trillion in retirement accounts sitting out there. You tell me where the bullseye's at.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think, ultimately the key thing to consider here is if you are putting money into, a Roth IRA, you're putting money into 401ks. This is always a good time of year to just double check and say, hey, do I need to tweak my contribution percentages? While I'm doing that, do I need to change it from pre-tax to Roth?
Yeah.
If I'm putting money aside for a backdoor Roth, I need to make sure I increase that amount. I need to look at we want to get every penny that we can in there and just make sure we're taking advantage of that. So
yeah, for sure.
So, those are really the key aspects here for our folks. And again, I think it's just worth thinking about all right, I got the short-term savings plan here. Let's make sure we just go through the details and run through the checklist here and get all the numbers right. And then on the kind of the long-range plan side, looking at tax brackets, looking at the new ones there and saying, hey, we're getting up into those, mid upper 30s with our income for most of our guys.
Yeah.
it's worth having a discussion and, with myself or yourself or whoever, and at least say, hey, I know we're paying a lot now, but, can we pay this much more this year? And then in retirement have this, sizable sum of tax-free money. And that's just it. I'm doing a little bit each year that most of the guys that we're doing the strategy with, they're not feeling it. I've never had anybody call me back and say, hey, I need to go back to doing tax deferment. It's just pinching me too much. Never had it happen one time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what we do, Scott, is we tend to think of, especially at the end of the year, rolling into a new year, we tend to think of, what do I need to do to be as efficient as possible for taxes this year? That the operative term being this year, when we really need to start thinking about, what do I need to do to be tax efficient in future years, especially as you're getting closer to retirement. We got to get out of that mindset of just the annual deal with the IRS thing.
Yes. Well, and one of the things that I love that a lot of the guys will say is the guys that are maxing their Roth contribution, they'll be like, dude, I fly one overtime trip and I paid that tax bill on that. And, it's for the year and I'm good. So if I do that, 20 overtime trips over last 20 years of my career to unlock, $1 million+ Roth IRA when I retire. I've never had anybody say, when you just think about like correlating it to the work that I do and what it allows me to do in retirement. Nobody's ever come back and said, no, I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting, for sure. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here. So if you got some questions, need some help about, how to get things set for the new year, get on the calendar. Go ahead and start now. We know it's the holiday season and you're like busy and this, that, and the other, but reach out to Scott. Let him know you want some time on the calendar. He'll get you all set up. You can start planning and strategizing for your retirement journey. And, just give him a call. We're going to have all the links in the show and the show descriptions down below. So if you've got any questions, need some help, visit him online at retireairlines.com. That's retireairlines.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and of course here on YouTube. See you later, Scott. Thanks for hanging out, my friend.
All right, see y'all.
We'll catch you next time here on the program. Again, don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you later.
Hey everyone, real quick, if you haven't grabbed Scott's Financial Flight Control Toolkit yet, now is the time. This is packed with tons of helpful resources and tools like this, Scott's book, The Dichotomy of Wealth, which is a pilot's guide to maximizing wealth and cash flow in retirement. You also get access to some great guides like this one, Advice Matters, which breaks down 4 key ways a good financial advisor can help you boost your returns over time. And guides like this one on the pitfalls of emotions when it comes to investing, and this one on the HCM byline investment strategy, and more. So if you'd like your very own Financial Flight Control Toolkit, just click the link in today's show description and Scott and the team will be happy to get one sent your way at absolutely no cost to you.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.